Hi folks, welcome back to the only dedicated Honda snowblower channel on YouTube. Today I'm going to show you how I service a Honda snowblower. And what I'm going to do is have a series. Today's Friday. I'm going to try to have another part next Friday and from Friday there on until we get this done. So I've serviced, I don't know, 400 of these snowblowers, and I have a method that I use. And I'm going to show you today how we're going to service the bucket, the augers, shear pins, scraper bar, and skid shoes. This will be part one. And then from there on, we'll go to another part next Friday. So I'm going to show you the service position that I put the machine in first. I already checked the gasoline, siphoned out some gas from the tank so it won't leak. It's all laid back. I put a counterweight on the handlebars to keep it up there. And I already ran the engine dry. I turned the engine on, shut off the gas, and let it run dry. And it's recommended that you remove the oil before you do this, and to not hydrolock the engine, which is another topic. But I usually have pretty good luck doing it this way. Let me start with the very first thing I check. Looking in here, here's your impeller pin. I want to make sure this is snug. You got a 14 millimeter head here and a 10 millimeter nut. So you snug that up. You can also pull on the impeller to see if there's any excess of play. Now, if there's excess of play, like if it's really loose, you might want to take off the belt cover and check the inside there and see if the impeller bearing, if there's too much play on the auger pulley wheel, you might have an impeller bearing that's going bad. But that will be addressed on another video. So that's what I check first. And then when I check, what I do is I've already removed the shear pins, right? Your auger shear pins. And I want to test to make sure that the augers turn without the shear pins in there. So let me see. What I did was I blocked the auger, but I want to make sure these turn. See how these turn? It's supposed to be like that. Now, if they don't turn, I'm going to show you in a minute what to do. Let me block this again. I want to block it, and I'll show you why. This side does not turn. I mean, the auger turns, but it's not turning freely on the auger gearbox shaft. That means that it's stuck for either because of usually rust and dirt. So what I do is I take out the side bolts. This bolt right here, I take that out on both sides, and then I'll use some penetrating oil. I use Liquid Ranch. It's a good penetrating oil, and I will put it in the hole here with my straw and spray a very liberal dose of penetrating oil in there. It'll work its way down to the shafts of the auger gearbox. So I put it on this side too. And then I blocked the auger, your impeller. And then I'm going to use you can use a 2x4. I got this metal pole. Put it in here. And you try to break it free. Let's see if it will work free. It's got a little, yeah, I'm lucky here. It's working a little bit. It's turning the auger. So you want to use a long 2x4 or something, and you can with the impeller blocked, I can try to break the auger free. So once I've broken it free, you break it free. You turn it around and round and round until it gets easier. See, I already broke it free, and now it's working. It's not super. It should turn freely. It should turn like this. I can turn it and it will spin. See, I'm just pulling on it and it spins. That's pretty good. That's what you want. That's what you want to see. Now this side's going to have to be soaked a little bit, and I'm going to have to work it and work it and work it until it's spinning freely. Now, in the worst case scenario, you might have to remove the augers, which is really not too difficult. We've spoken about this before. It takes about 5-10 minutes. What you want to do is you want to remove your impeller pin first, and then you remove these 3 bolts on both sides, and you remove your middle bolt, and the augers will just pull out. Then you can take the augers apart. You can spray a bunch of penetrating oil down the auger, let it sit for a while, pull the augers out, and clean the shafts and everything. So that's worst case. Usually, this machine here is about 20 years old, so I'm really surprised that it's turning fairly freely. So we can keep the augers in here and work them until they're nice and free like this. Now another thing you can do is if you have a bent auger. Let's see. I thought I had a bent auger here. Let me see. Turn it around. Oh, this one. You can see that this one's bent a little bit over to this side, just a little bit. And what you want to do is, most people don't have a huge crescent wrench like this. This is an 18-inch. I use 18-inch, 24-inch crescent wrenches. But you can use a pair of locking pliers like this. You can put it lock it on your auger. If you got a couple of them, you put one over here and one down here. What I do is use the large crescent wrenches. I'll put one over here and one on the other side, and then I'll just muscle it. That's why I like using the large crescent wrenches, because it's so much easier to pull the auger over where it should be. Now you've got the auger right when the distance between the 2 augers are the same. I think it's about 6 inches on this 828, but you want to make sure that the augers are equidistant to each other all the way around. And so it's a little bit of trial and error. You pull it over a little bit, and then you can measure it, and you can usually eyeball it and see that you've done it right. So, bent augers don't work as well. They don't collect snow as well. And if it's worst case, it could be cracked and need welding. But I don't see that very often. So I just pull it back over. It's going to collect snow better. These are really nice augers, by the way, for this old machine. The owner kept everything adjusted properly, the scraper bar and the skid shoes. But they will cut better, collect snow better. On a level surface, you can check your gear oil on your auger gearbox. You put the machine on a level surface, you pull this plug, and the oil may come out just a little bit. You tip it over just a little bit, see where the oil level is. It should be right up, the oil level should be right up to there. If it's not, add some gear oil, 75 -90 weight gear oil. Okay? So that's another thing you check on this. If you look really close to the top of the bucket here, it's kind of bowed. Can you see that? It's not straight across. I see this a lot. You can fix this fairly easily. The end is off. The end over here is okay, but the end over here is off. So I used a locking plier to bend it back up. If you have a welder, you can bend it into position and then give it a tack weld right there. But when you've got these little dents here, you can straighten them out with the locking pliers. And this one is bowed. So what I'll do is I'll take some. Let me see if I can find it. I'll take my rubber mallet and I'll bang it. You don't have to do it too hard. I mean, a little bit harder than this, but I'll give it some. I'll give it some wax with my rubber mallet and get it nice. You want to get it nice and straight all the way across. You want to make sure that the sides are nice and straight. If not, you can use some pliers and bend them out. Usually they're bent in. They're bent in. You can bend them out by putting some pliers on the sides here and bending them so they're nice and straight coming down. These are good. Let's see this side. This side's not too bad either. And you see you got a lot of nicks and scratches and everything. You can do some touch-up paint work if you want to. It's up to you. I'll use a flap disc with a high grit 320 grit. Smooth it all out with all the cracks and dents or whatever, and then use some cardboard in here. And I'm going to show you the paint because I know this question comes up all the time. This is the paint I use on a Honda. It's Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Ultra Cover Paint and Primer, and this one is what, satin colonial red. You can use gloss colonial red. This just happens to be satin. It's not glossy. Some people like to use apple red. Apple red's kind of bright, so you'd have to do the whole bucket. But this is a really close match. Or you can get the Honda paint. I can't remember what I paid for this. $5 or $6. They're a little bit more now, but the Honda red I think is almost $20 a can, $17, $18. I'm talking about US dollars for you Canadian folks. You probably pay $25 a can for the Honda paint. So you can do some touch up, you know. That's another thing you can do. And then after you've done all that, I go underneath here and I check the bottom of the bucket. Now it so happens that this bottom of this bucket on this old machine it's just about perfect. It's got there's no damage here. Most of the time, 95% of the time, I see damage down here because people do not keep their scraper bar adjusted and their skid shoes adjusted properly. That's the main thing, the skid shoes. So we'll get to in a second here. So what I see is this is curled up. This is not adjusted right, and then pretty soon your bucket's doing the scraping on your asphalt or your cement or whatever, and it starts curling. I wish this bucket was damaged so I could show you what I mean. So when I see a curl, I get some pliers, it's curled up back, and I'll take some pliers and I will straighten out the curls as much as possible. And then I got to get up for a second. Then I'll get a hammer, a ball peen hammer, and then I will flatten it. I see there's a spot over here there's a couple spots. I can flatten it as much as possible, because if you don't flatten this up against the scraper bar, then it's just going to curl more and more. Rocks are going to get in there and dirt and just cause more problems. So that's what I do to this. And then I will loosen these nuts. You got on the 828, you have 5 nuts for your scraper bar, and then you've got one on each side. because I want to adjust the scraper bar. Let's show you. Right now, I adjusted it out all the way on purpose to show you when I first loosened it up. This is the scraper bar. It was up against the bucket, and that's not right. So it depends on the surface you have and how much scraper bar you want hanging down. I gotta use my I want to use a a brass hammer so I don't damage. You can either hit the nut or that's about right there. Then a quarter inch or a little bit more. It depends on your surface. If you got a nice flat driveway, and most of the time shops will overextend this scraper bar because they know that most people don't attend to the proper adjustment of the skid shoes. So they usually, from what I've heard from Honda techs at the dealers, they'll overextend this a little bit. So I usually do about a quarter inch. You're going to leave a little bit of snow on your driveway, but it's better than scraping the bottom of your bucket. And that's about right. So you do the scraper bar first. You can look at your owner's manual and see what it says. But once I've got that on both sides, you see the slot here? So you want each side to look the same, pretty much, unless there's a lot of wear on one side or the other of the scraper bar. This one happens to be pretty good. It's not worn one side or the other. So I'll look at the other side and I will adjust the bolt right about the same. See where you got the clearance on the slots here, and try to make this about a quarter inch or so. And then after you've done that on both sides, I will tighten this nut first, and then I'll go to this side, and then sorry folks, I'm sorry about that. I'll tighten this one up, and then I will tighten the bottom nuts. Okay. So after you've done that, so you've already checked you already got your augers working good and everything. Once you've got your augers turning freely, you want to spray some lubricating oil. You can use WD-40, or you can use WD-40 with white lithium grease. I will spray some in here. I will spray some in here, in between the cam lock on the shaft. Don't be shy. Give it a bunch. Okay. So you want to grease your augers like that. If you have to take the augers out, then you do a full auger servicing, which I'll show in another video. But most people will be able to turn them. So once you've done this and everything, you can put your shear pins back in, snug them up, not too tight, not loose, just snug. And once you finished your work on your bucket area and your scraper bar, then you can put the machine back down. You hear that? That's our Halloween witch. Every time it hears a noise, she goes off. Okay, now the machine's on the. We're gonna pretend that it's on a level surface, and I have painter sticks under here. These are painter sticks. Now it depends on your surface. I have a fairly flat driveway. It's a new driveway. It doesn't have any bumps or cracks, and no dirt, no gravel or anything. So I'll just use one paint stick stair stick on both sides. Now, if you got dirt or gravel, you need more clearance. I'd like to hear from people that have done this on their dirt and gravel driveways to see how much clearance they use. You might you'll have maybe you'll have side skids, and you might need 2 sticks or 3 sticks or whatever. In the owner's manual, it shows you approximately what clearance you need depending on your surface. Now, I've talked about this before. You just might have to do some trial and error. So once you've got it back on the floor on a nice level surface, if you have a tracked model, oops, I got to get it into the middle position. Okay, it's in the middle position. If you got a tracked model, then you put your painter sticks under there. You loosen up your skid shoes nuts, okay? You push your skid shoes down to the floor, and then you retighten them. Now, for my driveway, that's perfect. On both sides, I got one stair stick on each side. I put the skid shoes down here, and I'm perfect. I'm good to go. So that's pretty much how you do this first part of a Honda snowblower service. It really doesn't take as long as this video. Probably takes, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, depending on what kind of work you have to do. So stay tuned for part 2 next week, which what I'm going to do. And thanks to the member that one of our members on Honda Snowblower Enthusiasts suggested this. He wanted to know how to service your controls under your control panel. So next week I'm gonna do that. How to service the controls, how to check your cables and your adjustments and so on. Your recoil starter. There's a lot we can do on the second part of your Honda service. So thanks for watching, folks. Really appreciate it. If you think this video helped you, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next Friday.